Between 1642 and 1646, the lives of workers all over England were thrown into bloody disarray by the Civil War. On one side, King Charles I and the Cavaliers, and on the other, Oliver Cromwell's Roundheads. For the ordinary men who were pressed into joining up, being maimed and killed became daily occupational hazards. This is Tutbury Castle in Derbyshire, and it was one of the last royalist strongholds. The king himself took shelter here, and it only fell to the Roundheads after 4 years of guerrilla warfare and a really long siege. And it's the technology of a siege that gives us one of the riskiest jobs of the war. The man who used a type of bomb called a petard to blow the castle gates down. A petard was the precursor of the modern hand grenade, except you didn't chuck it, you picked it up, ran along with it under your arm like a rugby ball, and delivered it in person. By exploding a device against the gates, you aim to punch a hole in the weakest link of the fort's defences and gain entry for the rest of the troops. So you fix it onto your door.
That's it.
Then how do we know it's going to go in that direction and not that direction?
Well, forces are equal and opposite, but the fact is that there's a wooden backing board and it's open, which means that when the explosion goes off, this nice iron container pushes all the explosion that way and punches a hole through the door.
And what's in here?
A fuse made of wood, filled with a composition. It just goes in that, and that gives you some time to get away.
So what's this made of?
That one would originally be made of cast iron or bronze, inside which 10 or 12 pounds of gunpowder.
Who'd have made it?
Petardier. He's employed purely to make these things to blow in walls.
And he'd run up, fix it to the wall and
No.
scoot it away again.
Far too valuable. You're going to have an assistant for that job, and that's the dangerous part of the work. Petardier makes this up on site, gives it to the assistants because he's disposable. He's the one that has the job of getting up here, putting it in place and setting it on.
One Petardier's assistant was George Cranage. He had to blow off the doors of Oswestry Castle, and his preparation for the terrifying ordeal, getting completely drunk on sack, a type of sherry. Cranage was lucky. He survived. But the job was virtual suicide, so the assistants did all they could to improve their odds.
You try and do this early in the morning or, you know, in the dusk, so you've got a bit of cover for that one. Get the element of surprise, so you're going to try and either leg it wearing very little armour or put lots of armour on and walk slowly but feeling better protected. And then knowing they're going to try and shoot you, drop things on your head and otherwise trying to spoil your day. And then obviously light the fuse and get away while they're still trying to kill you.
What would he be lighting it with? Would he be fumbling with matches while he was here?
He's going to have a piece of burning cord called slow match between his fingers, which really is cord soaked in saltpetre. You dry it out and you light it.
Your return journey was just as dangerous. Petards were so unpredictable, assistants were sometimes blown up as they tried to run away, hoisted by their own petards. But what were the chances of getting hit by a musket or missile while running from your own lines to a gate? I wasn't prepared to die for the programme, but I wanted to analyse just how risky it could be. We're conducting a bit of an experiment. I'm going to see whether I can get from here right to those gates down there without being hit by musket fire. We've got 4 musketeers up on the walls who've exchanged their muskets for paintball, and I'm going to be protected by 2 flankers. This is Dave and Andrew from our production office. Thanks, mate. Because in Stuart times, the Petardier would have had some kind of soldiers running alongside him, but not only have I got to try and avoid being killed, but I would have had to have placed my petard strategically to ensure that I actually blasted the door off its hinges and didn't just create a little hole about 4 foot up, which would have been of no use to anybody. Can you do my mask for me? Okie doke. Right. Ready, Andy?
Ready?
Go! Well done. Well done, mate. Hey!
You didn't do it.
What do you mean we did it?
Well, look down your leg, down your arm.
Yeah.
You didn't make it. They dropped you about halfway in. You're not dead, but you're bleeding to death out there.
Oh, but it felt so good. You know, you know what was extraordinary about it is I thought you'd be ducking around and weaving around.
You can't.
When you're under fire like that, you just get your head down and push you go.
Absolutely.
I have to say, it does hurt like hell.
Does it?
All the way down this side.
Well, that's where they got you, from that right-hand side as you came in. And look at the petard as well. Look at that.
Would that have exploded if it had been hit by a musket?
No, it wouldn't do, because the musket balls aren't hot enough. But they may well have gone straight through the board and into you anyway, and that was against your chest.
So I'd just be lying there bleeding, wouldn't I?
I'm afraid so. Good attempt, though.
Yeah. I think we proved just how vulnerable the Petardier's assistant was in Stuart times, but then so was the king. When the parliamentarians broke the siege of Oxford in 1646, Charles I was put on trial and eventually beheaded.